yes, we've seen some positive moves over the last 24 hours with the pause on the excess tariffs from President Trump, and that's been matched by positive moods in the markets. We saw big surges, but it's important to realize that these big surges came about because there were big falls beforehand. There was lots and lots of uncertainty. So, and that uncertainty is caused by the policy itself. Tariffs, any economist will tell you, really can be, especially on the scale that they've been applied, they can cause a lot of problems within the kind of smooth running of an economy. But also the way they were applied, the kind of chaotic announcement last Wednesday, the kind of misunderstanding of where the levels, the variations in tariff rates were coming from. These all caused concerns. So we've seen a rolling back of that, but we've not seen a rolling back to the kind of status quo that we were in last Tuesday. We're still in the case where basically pretty much every country in the world faces a levy of 10% on any imports into the US. So that means the US levels of tariffs are at a kind of almost historic high. Not quite historic as they were as we thought they were going to be, but there's still a lot of ructions in there. So yeah, things are better. Now in terms of the UK, actually our position, you could argue, hasn't really changed. We were facing 10% tariffs last Wednesday, we're facing 10% tariffs today. In many respects, the bigger question is what is going to be the impact on this continuing and potentially escalating trade war between the US and China? Because these are the two biggest economies in the world. And if they are essentially going to economic war, that's going to have blowbacks for everyone, including the UK. We're not kind of talking about an equal negotiation of powers. And to use Donald Trump's phrases, to a certain extent, the US holds more of the cards than the UK does. Partly that's because we're a smaller economy and we're not part of a larger trading bloc as we were when we were part of the European Union. On the government's plus side, it does appear that the president does seem to have some affection for the UK in general and seems to have a decent working relationship with the Prime Minister. For someone who's seemingly as transactional as President Trump appears to be, that can't be discounted. At the moment, though, we're not seeing any kind of evidence of that paying off. At the moment, we are essentially facing exactly the same level of tariffs as everyone else. Now, we hear noises from the government that they're hopeful that going forward we can get some kind of trade or economic agreement that will alleviate some of these issues. And maybe that will be the case, but I think it still remains the case that the bigger problems are caused by the great uncertainty that develops from the way that Trump does business, be that via trade, be that the way he's negotiating or trying to negotiate some form of peace negotiation between Ukraine and Russia. All of these things are causing ructions that have blowbacks in terms of, yes, kind of economic effects in terms of trade, but also tax and spending effects in terms of government fiscal policy, our thoughts on what we need to do in terms of defense spending. Ultimately, you'd have to say that uncertainty is providing an ongoing cost for the UK government.